I'd like to call the September Board of Commissioners meeting to order, please. This time I'll turn it over to Commissioner Sue Lee.
Would you join me in prayer, please? Dear Father, in our hearts we plan our course, but we pray that you will establish our steps. We seek your advice. Let us make decisions based on your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord. We place this meeting in your hands and our hearts and minds also, so that you may direct us. Amen. Will you join me in the pledge? Would you rise and join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lee. At this time, I think we have two walk-on items on the agenda that we'd like to add. That would be the 2E would be the emergency services presentation, and then on the consent agenda, a memorandum of understanding between Sampson County Child Advocacy Center and Sampson County Health Department. I'll entertain a motion to approve if.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, the agenda is accepted. At this time, I'll turn it over to our clerk of the board, Stephanie, for our attorney to be sworn in. At this time, I'd like to recognize his family, have them come up front with him for this opportunity.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will well and truly serve the state of North Carolina
that I will well and truly serve the state of North Carolina
in the office of attorney for the state and the county of Sampson.
in the office of attorney for the county of Sampson.
I will, in the execution of my office,
I will, in the execution of my office,
endeavor to have the criminal laws
endeavor to have the criminal laws
fairly and impartially administered,
fairly and impartially administered,
so far as in me lies,
so far as in me lies,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. All right, the next thing we have is we have some presentations and updates to give. This time I'd like to call Mr. Roland Hall and his family up. You by yourself?
She's not dressed.
Oh, perfectly. You'll be fine. We're glad to have you. It is certainly my honor and privilege to present this award that was voted on by the Regional Land Use Advisory Commission. Mr. Hall has represented Sampson County in time, and it reads here, the Regional Land Use Advisory Commission Distinguished Service Award. Fort Lauderdale Regional Land Use Advisory Commission extends to you sincere appreciation for your dedicated service to the commission while serving as a voting delegate for Sampson County, a member of the board of directors, and the secretary of the board. I present this to you at this time on behalf of the commissioners and Sampson County. We appreciate your service. He has served the community in many capacities through the years, and we certainly appreciate all that you do for Sampson County.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you have a long meeting. Why do military people drive all the way from Fort Lauderdale to live in San Sampson. Some of it is because of that lady sitting
All right,
That's no,
that's right.
I
That's
agree.
right.
there. What is
That's right. We're proud to have her too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sampson County is blessed to have leaders like Mr. Hall, I tell you. All right, this time I'll turn it over to Commissioner Letha Lee. She has a presentation that she'd like to make.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I have a presentation that I would like to make with Ms. Tyler Wise, which as Alice Butler will come up with the join. It gives the county commissioner honor and privilege to recognize Ms. Tyler Wise this afternoon. I'm sure that everyone that is from Roseburg knows the great work that she's been doing over there for a couple of years, and we saw it. We happened to see it, and it just thrilled our hearts to know that we have employees that want to dedicate their life work to Sampson County. And we appreciate you, you want to do that. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about you, what you do with Ms. Butler. Say a little bit about her if you like.
I'm Tyler Wise. I am I was the lead for NC Cohort 4 Fellow for the town of Roseboro. And it's a program through UNC Chapel Hill. They place recent college graduates throughout North Carolina, and we work to build capacity at the local level. And in Roseboro, I was able to do things like update the town's website, create a concert series, learn more about grant writing, and various projects under the direction of Mayor Alice Butler.
And I will just say, she was wonderful. Whenever I heard about the program, the NC League program, I'd never heard about it, and someone told me it's through funded through the School of Government, AmeriCorps, Anonymous Trust, and some other things. And they said, you really want to look into this because they'll bring capacity to your town. Things in a small town, we only have 3 ladies in the office. And there's so many other things that we wanted to do. And we got really lucky whenever we hired Tyler Wise to come on board, and the capacity that she has brought has been astounding. And she's being very modest because she ended up doing the Roseboro Parade, Bloom Fest, the Christmas tree lighting, Small Town Main Street, just so many other things that she has been able to do. And whenever I asked her, I'll never forget this because I was like, you know, you spend all this time with them and teaching them and learning. I was like, I wonder if she'll stay another year. And when I asked her, she's like, I was hoping you would ask me. And that was just wonderful. So she stayed 2 years, and then fortunately, she's working with us now. So we are just really been blessed by her. And her mom and her aunt and her sister all came tonight. We all stand, which I think is just wonderful. We'll get wanting to recognize her. Yes.
I just want all of the citizens of Sampson County to know that the county commissioners do recognize what it is. And Tyler Wise was greatness for Sampson County. We appreciate what she has done. All the lights she's lit up in Roseburg, we thank you for it. And at this time, I'd like for the commissioner to stand with me in honor of this award that we're presenting to Tyler. This certificate of appreciation proudly presented to Tyler Wise for her dedication and contributions to the town of Roseboro and Sampson County. September 9th, 2024. Letha R. Lee, Commissioner, 4th District, Sampson County. Thank you, Tyler. We're so proud of you.
Get out of the picture. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Wise, for your contribution. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will call Ms. Ellis up for the animal shelter update, please.
Good evening, Board and Mr. Causey.
Our renovations are complete except for the removal of the old building and fencing. I appreciate the support from county management, the board, and Public Works for making this renovation happen. In July, you approved the contract with Dr. Oglesby to become the shelter's on-site veterinarian. Dr. Oglesby is available Monday through Wednesday and on call Thursday through Sunday. This is a huge accomplishment and an upgrade for our shelter. All veterinary services are performed on site. Our surgical suite was inspected and approved by the state on July 15th, and the first surgery was completed that afternoon. As of this afternoon, 146 animals have been spayed and neutered at the animal shelter. This morning, the very first leg amputation was completed in our surgical suite. We have recently partnered with a local photographer and a groomer who have offered their services to the shelter for free. The photographer comes twice a month to take professional pictures of our long-term care animals to post on our Facebook page. The groomer has groomed one dog in our shelter and is willing to offer free one-time grooming to newly adoptable dogs. Our shelter is staffed 365 days a year. Even on the days we are not open to the public, our staff is required to clean, feed, and medicate the animals in our care. We currently have 7 positions: a director, a shelter manager, a vet assistant, 1 shelter attendant, and 3 temporary workers who work as shelter attendants. There are only 6 days each month when all 7 staff are in the building. This is due to the staggered employee schedules to accommodate weekend shifts. Currently, all staff work 40 hours a week. Since January 1st, a total of 1,287 animals have been brought in. We have adopted out 219, returned to owners 89, and transferred to vetted rescue organizations 553. That is a total of 861 animals saved since January 1st. Currently, our euthanasia rate is 31%. However, a majority of that percentage is fearful and aggressive animals. Our open to the public hours and fees are comparable to our neighboring counties. In October, we will offer extended adoption hours 1 Tuesday and 1 Saturday a month. We are not offering these hours in November due to our Cleared the Shelter event. In the past, we have offered special adoption hours with no success. However, we have heard the community's request and will begin offering extended hours. I have included in your copy of the agenda proposed rate changes. The first request is to be approved to reduce adoption fees 4 times a year when the shelter is over capacity. This would be another tool, along with our reputable rescue organizations, in hopes of not being forced to euthanize due to space. To be honest, very rarely do we euthanize due to space. And the reason we're not required to or have to is because we are utilizing our vetted reputable rescues that pull our long-term care animals. These same rescue organizations will also pull severely injured, severe mange cases, and emaciated animals that otherwise may have been euthanized in the shelter environment. I'm proposing $25 adoption fees for both cats and dogs. If approved, the dates I choose will depend on the shelter's population. It's hard for me right now to give you a specific date that I want to offer these adoption rates, just for the simple fact I could set it for next week and then a month later we get at capacity. So I would like it to be at my choosing, just going along with the population that is currently at our shelter. I would like 4 times a year for cats and 4 times a year for dogs. Our PIO, Gene Co, will help me advertise those dates once they are selected, and we will make sure to advertise in a timely manner so that the public is aware. My second request is to offer quarterly rabies vaccination clinics. These clinics would be for Sampson County residences only, and the cost would be $10 per animal. Currently, that is the only vaccination required by the state. And so our way of giving back to the community, trying to help, we would like to offer low-cost rabies vaccinations. We are pleased with our success at the animal shelter with the knowledge that there is always room to improve. We appreciate the support of our commissioners, county management, and local citizens. We truly have a group of hardworking and reliable people who care about the animals in our care. We provide shelter, food, medical care, and love to the abandoned and surrendered animals in Sampson County. Now, if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the board have a question? I have a comment. It's certainly proud to know that we got Dr. Oglesby on board. His family has been here as long as I can remember, even as a little boy, and they've offered their services all this time, and it's a blessing to have them with the county, and we can offer so much more through their
Absolutely.
services.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else got a comment? All right, we will take that under advisement, what you're asking to do, and I don't see a problem with us moving forward with that, if that's your recommendation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Should that be should we get the board to formally adopt that?
I think so.
Okay, I move that we adopt the recommendations from Ms. Ellis.
Second.
If you need it spelled out anymore, we can do that. Okay, we got a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
Thank you all so much. But may I add how much we appreciate what you do for our animals? You run a really tight ship. I've seen tons of improvement since I've been sitting here, and I'm very proud of our animal shelter and what y'all do. Thank you.
I am too, and I remember when I first came on board, we had some issues, and through the help of Dr. Oglesby and your dedication, we worked our way through it, so thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. On to our next one, D, the Ivanhoe Water Project. Mr. Turlington, Mr. Ross.
Good afternoon. I've come again to give you an update on Ivanhoe project, and we have made some progress since last meeting that I come before you. I was looking back through some of my notes today, and we signed contract with Dewberry in late 2022. So it's been a long process. It's 40-plus miles of water lines going to have to be put in. Since we signed with Dewberry, there's been surveys done, there's been designing done, permits done, easements done. It's been a lot of hard work put in for this project. After I talked with y'all last month, we got our final permit from DWI. There were some changes back and forth they wanted done. We did what they wanted, and we have got the drawings and all to their specifications exactly like they wanted. So we're ready to proceed on. I'm going to let David and Emma, our engineers, come before you and give you an update of what's to come. David.
Good afternoon, David Ross, and have Emma here too. She's going to be kind of holding our presentation, so let me know if y'all can see it. I might want to move up so the board can really see it. I did give Stephanie this packet, so y'all should all have this packet with you currently. And on the front page of that gives kind of a brief summary of the Ivanhoe project, and then it talks a little bit further about the status and what the design elements are for this project. The biggest thing that I wanted to discuss tonight, just so everybody's on the same page, like Mark said, the Division of Water Infrastructure, their approval letter is the third page in this packet. And inside of that, they spelled out what the project would be between what's the base bid and what is our bid alternates, or what you would call additives to the project. So this project from the very beginning, the entire thing has been meant to get water to Ivanhoe. That's been clear. That's been clearly defined this entire time. Then that's what this spells out to. The base bid for this project is to get water to Ivanhoe. So I'm going to I'll list out the names of the roads, and I'll point them out so you're aware. The base bid that we have is gonna be Lifts and Bridge Road, Harrell's Highway, Section 1. I guess, Emma, you can put them out. Yeah, that'll work better. Clear Run School Road, Tomahawk Highway, Fire Tower Road, Hoover Road, Alpine Church Road, Ivanhoe Road, G. Shaw Road, Barn Hill Road, Jump and Run Road, Eddie L. Jones Road, McCoy Loop Road, Trestle Road, and Dr. Carr Road. So that is our base bid project. That's going to be what the contractor gives us his initial quote on. And then after that, that gives us this entire area, this entire loop, or well, except for Wildcat Road up here. And that's not necessarily neither. It's not as many homes in this area, and it's not as part of this initial I-plan. So as we determined, this is the best approach for us to get water to them. The alternates that we have for the additives are going to be adding the additional roads. So that would be Harold's Highway, this section here, going to Garland, which also allows us to have water here on East Second Street. But the additive D is that one. Additive C is Harold's Highway 2. So we are, as part of this, having to install a booster pump station. And from that booster pump station to get water to Garland, because the hydraulic grade is uphill, we have to have a second water main going up Harold's Highway. But that would be included in our additive C. Our additive D is East Second Street. Our additive E is the, I guess, parallel line in Wildcat Road. So Wildcat Road is that section right there. That would help us create a loop. That's kind of helps us with water quality, turnover rates. Without that, it's just a long dead end water main. So we want to have that in there if we can, but we got to work to see what the costs come in from the contractors. So to add on to that, you can see in that DWI letter what they consider eligible, and it lists it out specifically like I just went through. And as we go through this project, it has been put out to bid. The advertisement went into the Sampson Independent last week. Once we received the approval from DWI on August 22nd, we prepared the advertisement, sent it to the Sampson County Independent. It is in the newspaper, I think maybe last week. It was Wednesday of last week is when it was in the newspaper. And if you do not see that advertisement, it's also going to be posted on the website for the county. Gene Coe has been working with us on that to get everything on that. And you also find a webpage kind of for that, has links. We have videos going through describing the project, going through frequently asked questions for this project, trying to get as much information to everybody that we can so everybody's well informed for the project moving ahead. Looking forward, so the advertisement went out last week. Scheduled from here on out, the bidding documents became available last week for the contractors who have reached out to us. We are the agency. If they reach out to Mark, he's instructed to let us know, and then we send those documents to the bidders. After that, we will have a pre-bid conference, and that is September 16th at 2 o'clock. It'll be at the County Public Works Department. The bidders and questions from the bidders will be due at 5 p.m. on September 26th. And we will hold the bid opening on October 3rd. That's a Thursday. Please note one thing on that too is that for us, the state statute for us to open the bids, we have to receive a minimum of 3 responsible bidders. So if that is not received, we will have to re-advertise the project for a minimum of 7 days to meet the statutes. So hopefully we'll receive enough. We've been reaching out. We have Dewberry internally has reached out to the NC Hub website to go out and reach out to all the minority businesses, women-owned businesses to try to get their involvement as much as possible in this project. So we have all the records for that. We've gotten a few interested folks, and we're keep on running that down too. But once we have that bid and the bids come in and we're within the project budget that we had defined in this DWI letter, at that point, we're going to come back to you all to present a resolution to adopt and award the project to the lowest responsive bidder. We hope to have that on the October 7th meeting, which would be the meeting directly after October 3rd. However, we do not receive the 3 bids. We would likely need to push that back to get 7 days in. So that is where we're currently at. Once the bids have been received, the next step to that, and this is all defined in that first letter that from Mark to you all, is that we are going to have our marketing campaign start in that area. We don't want to preemptively get out there and market all the roads, and we don't know what the final alternates will be. But we will do that once we have our bid awarded, and that would be a 60-day marketing campaign. We'll basically hang our door flyers. The county, Gene will help put stuff on the website, let everybody know this is when it's going to happen. We're going to have community meetings out there. We're probably work with you on a lot of that too. So anything we can do to get out there and make sure everybody's aware of it, that's what we're going to do. So that's where we're at. We're anticipating after that 60-day period, once we have your resolution, we have to go back to DWI and get their authority to award the project. That's typically a 60-day turnaround period, so that's why that 60-day marketing campaign makes sense in that interim period. And after that, we are able to start construction. The construction anticipation for this is over a year. We have about 550 days, what we're anticipating. Everything needs to be constructed by the end of 2026. So that is our end date when the grant and stuff needs to be completed, all construction needs to be done. So that is the overview and the status of the project right now. Are there any questions for me?
Anyone have questions or
Well,
comments?
just for color references, down at the bottom on Alpine Road, and those, is that 4-inch or 12-inch?
That's 4.
Yep, 4-inch, yep, so the majority, there's no 12-inch, we were able to keep everything 8 inches or smaller. A lot of that is due to having this booster pump station and the looping down here. Sampson County, if you are not aware, or if you are, is not a fire-rated system, so we aren't required to have a minimum of 6-inch pipe everywhere. And a lot of places throughout the county will use 4-inch for more residential connections, and that's the majority of everybody in this area that we're anticipating is residential.
And the reason for that is to put those big lines in, we couldn't anywhere come close to serving as many people.
That's right. If the larger lines, we need a lot more customer base down there, and the cost will be a lot higher as well.
Yeah.
And one other thing too, the larger lines you have, the more flushing that the county has to do procedurally. And currently, we're flushing a lot of water as is, so if we can reduce that or not add to that, that's what we're trying to do.
Right. Maybe Mark's got the price, but to put a 12-inch line is so much a mile. Mark, do you remember, have that figure on your top of your head?
I do not.
And as of recently with all the stuff happening, it has been kind of up and down a lot. So we don't have a great idea of that exact cost, right now.
Well,
I think
it goes-
last time we had it, for a 12-inch line, for one project we did was around $400 a linear foot. So if you want to look at it for a mile perspective, that adds up pretty quickly.
It's expensive. It's exponential as opposed to being double. In other words, go from 4 to an 8 would be double. It's far more than that.
That's right.
And then too, the other thing I'd like to point out, this is just to get this in, and of course, this is all made available only because of the grant that we received.
Correct,
This is all funded by the grant.
correct.
However, in the future, we will have to maintain this, and our system will have to have those costs. And so it's a ongoing expense for the county.
That's right.
Anyone got any more questions or comments?
We are certainly glad that you have gotten this far. It's been a long time, but we know that it's coming. Unlike in the past, we know that it's coming. And I'm certainly glad, and on behalf of the citizens of Ivanhoe, they are thrilled about what's taking place. And I see that you have included Wildcat in there now.
So Wildcat is one of our additional ones that if we do have the money available, we will be doing that one.
Okay, all right, thank
And
you.
it's just that, like I said, this section that we have showed right there on number 10. So this is the limits of the project. So if anybody has any questions, Gene, I believe this is going to be available on the website, this exact map. So if anybody has questions about where projects are, it will be this one. And just remind them too, that I try to make it as clear as possible, but this basically is your base bid. So the ones that will be, if the minimum project to happen will be all these numbers here, and then adding up. So that's kind of how I try to lay it out. Hopefully it's clear enough, but if there's not, let us know if you have any questions and we can update it.
I'd also like to point out our water system is an enterprise system. It's self-supporting. There's no tax dollars in it. Through grants and money that we can generate through our existing system, we're able to add more lines in. And of course, that's a ongoing process. We try to increase that as much as funds will allow. Any other questions? Any comments? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, at this time, I'll call Mr. Rick Sauer to the podium.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'd like to discuss the Communications Center, and then at the end, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you. So this evening, I'd like to talk about, real briefly, the overview of emergency services, address some recent issues that we've had, talk about the staffing and call volume, look at our infrastructure, and then spend a few minutes talking about the draft improvement plan, and then I'll summarize. So emergency services is divided up into 4 divisions. Our emergency medical services, known as EMS, fire marshal's office, emergency management, and the 911 center. First, I'd like to acknowledge that we have made some mistakes, and everybody is aware of these. Back on Thursday, August 15th, around 4 p.m., we received a call to 911 center for an accident on Highway 421 in Delaware. The appropriate information was not obtained on that initial call, so the fire department responded, but there should have been an additional fire department responding on that initial call, and that was not done. And then on Monday, August 26th, about 1:30 p.m., we received a report of a house fire south of Clinton, and that address was not verified. So there was a mistake made where the fire departments were initially sent to the wrong location. And once we discovered that mistake, then we sent the fire departments to the correct address. And both of those errors were human error. I'd like to talk about real briefly the August 31st, which was a Saturday, about 10:30 on I-40, Neil Meyer marker 358. We received multiple calls for an accident there. There was a serious accident. We received 23 plus calls. And all the callers told us was the accident occurred between 3:48 and 3:58 in that 10-mile span. One caller actually told us that the accident was at 4:16, which is in Wilmington, which obviously wasn't accurate. Our dispatchers, we were talking with Duplin County 911 and the Highway Patrol, and they had similar calls with that span of 10 miles. It took 8 minutes for somebody to verify where that accident actually was, and that was an out-of-town fire chief, actually out-of-state fire chief that was passing through that was able to verify where that was. I'd also like to acknowledge, and we were criticized for some failure to communicate during Tropical Storm Debbie. This afternoon, county officials met with the school officials, both the county and city schools, the city of Clinton. We talked about improvement in our communications plan. It was a good discussion. We had some good dialogue, and we developed a plan moving forward that I think everybody can agree with. So I'd like to talk about our communications staffing at our 911 center. On the right, this was a report from spring of 2023 from an international association of dispatchers, and it says America's workforce is in crisis. America's 911 workforce is in crisis. And to the left there's 3 different quotes or information that came out of this report. First one was the average vacancy rate for 911 centers across the country is about 25%, and that was between 2019 and 2022. Currently, our vacancy rate in Sampson County at our 911 center is 35%. It also outlined the top 4 reasons why dispatchers leave their employment. One was work schedule, better opportunities, pay, and stress, and we've seen all that in our 911 center. And then there was a third quote in that document that said there's a lack of public recognition and support that compound the problem even further. And at the bottom of the graph there, it shows steps in just different 911 centers across the country. So there was about 750 911 centers that answered the survey, and you can see where there's vacancies all over. So a little background on our 911 center. We provide 911 services 24/7, 365. We are the only public safety answering point, which is also known as a 911 center in Sampson County. We have 23 full-time authorized positions. We have 3 administrative positions. That is the manager, the assistant manager, and the 911 training officer. So we have 20 authorized shift workers. That includes our 911 supervisors and then our telecommunicators. We have 4 different shifts. They work 12 hours. Their schedules are 12 hours. Our goal is to have 4 dispatchers per shift, and unfortunately, we oftentimes are not able to meet that. And then our goal is also to have 4 additional dispatchers to have, to take care of some of our additional call volume. And I've got a chart coming up in just a minute that I'll show you what I mean. We also provide phone, life safety, medical information to the callers when they call in with a medical emergency. So why do we like to have 4 dispatchers on duty at all times? The reason is we have 4 different radio channels. We have a fire, EMS, the sheriff's department, and Clinton PD. Each employee, each shift worker is assigned one channel, and they're responsible for that channel throughout the night, although the other dispatchers work together when they're on the phone or when they're busy doing something else. We serve all the agencies across the county, EMS, fire, law enforcement, emergency management. We have about 20 fire departments that we dispatch for, fire marshal's office and the forestry service, law enforcement, sheriff's department, Clinton, Newton Grove, and the highway patrol. We also answer phones for public works, the county, the city, and municipal public works. And then we have all kinds of other phone calls that we're answering, such as social services, animal control, the Red Cross, and especially at night when the administrative offices close, we get some administrative calls that the 911 center is answering. I'd like to just go through a comparison. When I got here in 2021, I did a presentation to the board of some of the things during an assessment that we found. And I just want to compare from 2021 to now in 2024. In 2021, we saw an increase in call volume of 911 calls, administrative calls, and total calls. I'm glad to say that in 2024, those calls have leveled off, and as you'll see, they've decreased slightly, which is a good thing. In 2021, we were not meeting the national and state standards of essentially answering 90% of the calls within 10 seconds. And in 2024, we are still not able to meet that standard, and currently we're at about 83%. We'd love for that to be 100%, but we're at about 83%. 2021, we realized that there was inadequate staffing for the calls that we were receiving. We came to the board and asked for 4 additional positions, and those positions were granted, and that was the first time in over 18 years that there was new staff added to 911. Unfortunately, today, we are still unable to fill those positions because we can't find qualified applicants. In 2021, we had about 50% of our staff that had less than 1.5 years of experience, and today we have over 50% of our staff that have less than 2 years experience, so that's essentially the same. In 2021, there was ISO ratings for just a communication portion for our fire departments in the county, and that rating was slightly higher. In 2024, we were able to reduce that rating slightly, and that's because of the technology in the new 911 center. In 2021, we had no training officer assigned to the 911 center. They came to the board in 2023 and asked for that position. That position was granted, but unfortunately, we were not able to fill that position for over a year. And that was because we couldn't find a qualified applicant. Good news is we hired somebody last month. She's hitting the ground running. There's a learning curve for her, but she's going to be certainly an asset to our communications center. 2021, we have shift supervisors that are assigned to supervise the shift, but also assigned to train new hires. And that has not changed since 2021. We still do that today. And then in 2021, we had a lack of training opportunities because of the low staffing levels, and that continues today. So what we mean by that is we don't have enough staff to be able to take dispatchers and have them go to a class or take 8 hours out of their day to learn new information, because we don't have people to backfill to be able to answer the phone and answer the radios. So here's a graph of our calls over the last 10 years, from 2014 to 2023. And you can see the call volume is slightly increasing. So the dark green, which is the highest on the bar graph, is the total amount of calls that our 911 center answers. The orange is administrative calls, and the dark blue is 911 calls. So like I said, if you go back to 2021 when we came to the board, you could see an increase in call volume, and the staff had not increased. So we'd asked for new positions, and those were granted. And then I mentioned that the call volume is decreasing slightly. We don't know why, but that's a good thing. This is a graph, a 24-hour graph of the calls that we receive. On the far left is midnight, and then as it starts going down this curve, it's the early morning hours of the day, and then somewhere around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, our call volume starts picking up. And then it's pretty steady all the way during the day until about 9 p.m. at night, and then those calls start tapering off. So we'd like to have 4 dispatchers on at all times to answer any call that comes in and to work those 4 radio channels. But the 4 additional staff that we'd asked for and were granted that we can't fill would be assigned to work during these daytime hours to handle this increased call volume. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to fill those positions. So here's a bar graph just to give you an example of administrative calls. And this is for animal calls across the county. Again, 10-year timeframe from 2014 to 2023. And as you can see, it's been a steady increase. Last year was our highest call volume over the 10-year period. You can see a little dip in 2019 and 2020. I'm not really sure why. 2020, I can sort of guess that may have been COVID-related, but I'm not sure about 2019. So some staffing problems. Our staffing problems are similar, and we've discussed this with the county manager and HR director, is similar to other departments in the county. It's a nationwide problem. It's not just a local problem with Sampson County or North Carolina. The average tenure for a dispatcher across the country is between 1 and 5 years. And the reason is because it's a stressful and challenging position, and it's not for everybody. They have to multitask. So in our 911 center, each dispatcher has 8 computer screens that they're responsible for to monitor, to watch, and see what's going on. They're answering telephone calls, they're answering radio transmission, they're typing in data into the computer system, and it's just overwhelming. Another thing that they do is the schedule, and I mentioned the schedule of why people leave 911 centers. They're working nights, they're working weekends, they're working holidays, and that takes an added stress on family life. In 2023, we did a salary study in the county. There were some discrepancies that were identified for emergency services, and those discrepancies were corrected in in February of 2024. But unfortunately, during that time frame, we did have a few dispatchers leave the county. We did implement a career ladder, and this was an idea to try to get and retain some of our employees. And that basically is a step where if somebody's here for a period of time and they're gaining some experience, that they would bump up a little bit in pay. But unfortunately, we really haven't been able to implement that because of the years of experience, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then last week, we just did an impromptu phone calls to area counties around us. And the area counties around us, unfortunately, we're the lowest paid county for entry-level dispatchers. So we talk about staffing, and unfortunately, this shrunk when we did change the PowerPoint here a little bit. So if you look at your paper, I was able to increase it. Okay, so we have 4 different shifts A, B, C, and D. And this just is an example of what we're dealing with. So the top left is shift A. We have a supervisor who currently has 8 years of experience. We have 3 telecommunicators, which make up the 4 staff, telecommunicator 1, 2, 3, and 4. Supervisor has 8 years experience, telecommunicator 1 has 3 years experience, telecommunicator 2 has 2 years, and telecommunicator 3 has 1 year of experience. Telecommunicator 1, who has the most experience, is currently on extended leave. So that person is not available to us. The supervisor, as I mentioned, is not only responsible for operating one of the channels, one of the 4 channels that we have, but they're training a new hire, and then are also supposed to be supervising the rest of the staff. And unfortunately, that's too much to ask of somebody, and that's a very difficult position to put those supervisors in. If we drop down to shift B, we have a new supervisor that was just promoted 2 months ago. That person has 5 years experience. And then we look at the 3 other telecommunicators. They each have 1 year experience. And then telecommunicator 3 is vacant. That position's vacant. On shift C, we have a supervisor that has 14 years of experience. Again, they're supervising, they're working a channel, and they're training a new hire. Telecommunicator 1 has 7 years experience, 2 has 2 years experience, and telecommunicator 3, that position's vacant. Telecommunicator 2 will be on extended leave shortly. They'll be out for a period of time. And then on shift D, we have a supervisor with 11 years experience, again, training and supervising the staff. 3 telecommunicators, 1 with 2 years experience, 1 with 1 year experience, and then that other position is vacant. And then if we go back to shift A, that position's essentially vacant with extended leave. So we're struggling with some of our staff. And then we would have an additional shift if we had the manpower to take care of that call volume during the day from that essentially 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. time frame. Staffing levels, so currently, we're training, the supervisors are training the new hires and supervising the young staff, as I mentioned. It takes approximately 6 months to fully train a new hire from when they walk into the door to get them to the place where they can essentially work on their own with little supervision. Currently, we have 13 fully trained and operated positions, and that leaves us at a 65% staffing level or 35% vacancy level. If you look at the people that are currently trained, plus the people in training, that would be 7 that have 1 year of experience or less. And then if you look at our fully trained people and the 3 additional ones in training, we'd have 10 people with 2 years or less experience. And then, like I said, we have those 4 additional positions that are vacant for that peak hour shift. I just want to note that these dispatchers and telecommunicators are good people. They're dedicated, they're working hard, they're our friends and neighbors. The problem is that they're burned out, they're stressed, there's a lot of work to do. We're demanding that they work a tremendous amount of overtime to try to keep our 911 center in operation, and it's difficult to do. So I'd like to talk real quick about infrastructure in the county and the 911 system, and it's about the towers, repeaters, and antennas. We have 1 radio tower in the county that is responsible for paging all our first responders. That tower is 22-plus years old. The lifespan of a radio tower is somewhere between 25 and 35 years old. We have no redundancy in place, so if a storm blows through, a hurricane, tornado, or we have structural failure or something like that, we're essentially dead in the water, that we will not be able to page out our first responders. So we have great technology at our new 911 center with brand-new equipment, but at the tower site, that equipment is dated and is old. So we can only be as strong as our weakest link. So we're going to recommend that we do a full study on our radio system from soup to nuts of what's going on. And I actually talked to a vendor today who's going to provide a proposal to us shortly. So I've spent some time coming up with a draft improvement plan. And there's 6 different steps in this plan, and I'll go through each one of these steps in some detail. First one is assess the situation. So we've been doing this since I've been here, since 2001. We're doing ongoing assessments, and we'll continue to do that. What we found is our staffing levels are too low. We have those 4 positions that are vacant, plus those other additional positions that are vacant at this time. We recognized that we needed a training officer. The board approved that position. That was vacant for a period of time, but now we've just hired that new employee. We don't have enough training officers, and that's why the supervisors are doing the training. So even if I had people that are willing to come to work tomorrow to work for us, I have nobody to train them and train them to the way they need to be. So there's some classroom training that our training officer could do, but then there's on-the-job training, and we need that to be one-on-one. So we need to work on that. Again, this is a nationwide problem. It's not unique to Sampson County. And like I said, our infrastructure is outdated, and it's going to be costly to improve and upgrade some of that equipment. Revisit and review training programs. So we have an initial training program for our new hires. We're going to improve what we're doing there with some daily observation reports and some documentation in the training. We're doing some refresher training. We want to build in some in-service training to build some knowledge, to incorporate some scenario-based training to sharpen the skills of our telecommunicators, do some remedial training for those who do happen to make an error. And we have taken those steps with those dispatchers that did make those areas that I previously talked about. And then we're looking for some leadership training. So we just promoted someone from telecommunicator to supervisor, and we feel we need to do some leadership training. Step 3 is improve our systems and procedures. We do this continually now, and we're doing a good job. We also do some quality assurance. We have a contractor that looks at our call volume and picks out calls and assesses them for some metrics for call handling times, error rates, and stuff like that. We want to try to increase that, so we're looking at more of those calls. We need to invest in some technology. One thing we're looking at is a training simulator. So many of you have been to our new office. We have a training area, but there's a training simulator that could be able to put a little more stress in real life situations on the dispatchers, and we think that would improve their time for their training programs. Do a complete analysis, as I just mentioned, of the entire communications system. We have some maintenance that we need to do on some of the infrastructure that we have now. I also want to explore some AI or artificial intelligence possibilities. Currently, there's no PSAP in North Carolina that's using AI. There's a couple across the country that are experimenting with it or toying with that idea. I want to take a look and see if there's something that we could do to help improve what we're doing at our 911 center. And then we're going to try to upgrade these systems as funds allow. Number 4, foster a supportive work environment. We think we're doing a pretty good job here, but there's always room for improvement to provide some feedback mechanism for our employees to encourage open lines of communication and so on. Number 5, monitor and evaluate what's going on. We want to try to set some clear objectives. We have that one objective of that 90-10 rule where we're going to try to answer calls, 90% of the calls within 10 seconds. We want to try to increase that percentage rate. Conduct regular interviews. Prior to our training officer arriving here, many times when administration talked to one of our dispatchers about something, it was negative feedback because they maybe did make a mistake or something. And we want to try to change that around and have some positive feedback of all the calls that they are answering and handling correctly. And then if there is a problem, to address that and come up with some improvement plan. And then, like I said, encourage employee feedback. Number 6, recognize and reward improvement. We are doing some of these things. We think we can probably do a better job of celebrating some milestones where maybe they graduate from the new hire training. Some anniversary milestones where maybe they're 1 year and they've gotten to 2 years or 3 years with us. And then Lifesaver and Stork Awards, we're currently doing that now. So if a dispatcher talks somebody through doing CPR, and that person survives that, we give them a little Lifesaver pin and a certificate, and the same with the Stork Award if they talk somebody through childbirth. So we're doing that, but we want to continue to do that to recognize our employees. So in summary, we have an extremely fragile communication system. It's staffing and personnel, and it's infrastructure and equipment. We're trying to address what we can. Funding is probably going to be a concern. The improvements are going to be costly. This is something that did not happen overnight. This has been long-standing. Therefore, we're not going to be able to correct it overnight. It's going to take some time, but we're trying to do what we can with the resources we have to move forward. Our goal is obviously not to make any mistakes. None of our employees come to work one day and says, let me see if I can make a mistake or something like that. They're very dedicated in doing what they are trained to do. So we will continue to try to strive to do better in what we do at the 911 center. So quickly, and this has been out and been advertised, we're going to hold the session on Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 12th, from 8:30 to 5 in the administration boardroom next door. I believe 1 or 2 of the commissioners will be present, the county manager, myself, our 911 manager will be present, and we'll listen to suggestions and ideas of anything or answer any questions that anybody may have. We ask you to sign up, call the number that's here, and we'll try to answer that. And I do want to add that if somebody needs to be at work or they can't make this particular date, that they're more than welcome to call me directly, and we'll set up a time where they can come in and I'll try to answer their questions as well. So I'll answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Does anyone have questions? It's a lot of information. Vice Chair Lee and I made a trip over to the 911 center last week, and it was very impressive, the facility, and the way we got to see the way that you handle it. Unfortunately, mistakes can be made because we're all human, and I didn't see anything other than a morale issue after some of the negative publicity we got. And we talked about that briefly, and I encourage them to keep doing what they're doing because we know how important it is. We want them there to make that call, take that call. And but we also came up with this plan to sit down and listen to the citizens, so we encourage you to sign up and come. We'll give you a 30-minute slot to talk with us, and we'll answer your questions. And if we can't answer them, we'll be able to get back to you and with the answers, but we should be able to answer those questions. You mentioned something in this about funding. Funding is a problem, always going to be a problem in a Tier 1 county like Sampson County. We don't have the funds. We're one of the poorest counties in the state. There's 40 of us, 40 counties in the state that are in the Tier 1 level, and we're one of those. We're a large county geographically, and we have a small population. So when we got one of the highest tax rates. So it's always going to be a challenge, but we'll keep working on it. Never say never. And of course, we keep lobbying the legislature to give us funds to help us with this. These are some things that we can ask for. You said you asked for 4 telecommunicators. Best I remember, you asked for 8, and we cut it down to 4. And now we see the wisdom in your request. But it's funding that's a problem whenever you're trying to do a budget and be responsible fiscally. But there again, we also see the need. The other problem is finding eligible candidates to come in and take the course and try to move up. And it's a problem nationwide. Even in my business, personal business, we have a low turnout of applicants, and it's nationwide. So it's a new thing since COVID, and we will all have to work together and work with it. But I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate what the staff is doing. Yes, there's room for improvement, but we all do. We all have room for improvement. Anyone else have thoughts or comments?
I would like to have
Okay.
I realize that it's stressful, it's hard, and like you said, people just don't want to work now. But I would like to save my comments and my questions until after we've heard from the public, because the citizens' questions and what they want to know and what they can learn from all of this is important to me. So I'll base, what I have to say after I hear what the citizens are saying, all of it.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to hear, if you got questions, come and bring them. We'll try to answer them. Any other comments?
Glad we got an open communication started. That's a big start.
Yeah.
It really is. Involved in public like we're doing.
The volume of calls that you handle is amazing. I think you said you had 113,000 last year, which.
Yeah, and this graph will outline it a little better.
So
131,130 for 2023, and that's total calls. Yes.
And sadly, what happens in a lot of these are people calling, wanting to go to the doctor. And we have what's called well, I hate to use the name, but anyway, they call very often. And there again, we understand the need. However, it ties up our line, ties up our crew. While we were there, there was a call came in, and all 4 dispatchers there were working on that one call. And I didn't know behind the scenes that so much was going on. And then too, they had details that they could give them on whatever the medical emergency was or the fire emergency was, trying to work them through it. So it's amazing what's going on over there, and I really appreciate the effort being exerted. No more questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the presentation.
All right, that brings us down to the consent agenda. No one has anything to add or delete. I'll accept the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as corrected.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, that gets us down to the county manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a lot. We did hire a new inspections and planning director back in August, and I do not think he was here at that point in time. And I'd like for David Hall to stand up and maybe come forward where the commissioners can see you. And if you've got any questions, he'll be glad to try to answer or address them. We're extremely proud. He had served as our interim director since last February, I think.
Correct.
So, he's done a lot to help us over there during the time he's been with us.
I have already received one positive comment from one of our constituents.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Yeah,
Getting things worked out.
I'm excited about the opportunity and look forward to continue growing the department.
It's a very important department. We're glad to have you. You've been with us for some time in another capacity, so this is another change. And of course, from what I understand, you're very quick to adapt to change.
Try our best.
Any other points, questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Yes, sir, you too. Mr. Causey, anything else?
I do not have anything else.
Okay, that brings us to the public comment section. At this time, I'll call it Steve Lamb. You're first on the list.
Appreciate seeing you board members and all, whatever, got a very bad complaint over the food inspection system of Miss Wanda Robinson. The way it's been handled, she's going to one place, Sharon's, had it closed down, but all the other places, when the people tries to get something done, she's refused, and I've called several other places about it, and I've called the Human Resources issue about it. It's unreal. She closed one restaurant down, and then I go to the other restaurants. By the North Carolina state law, they're supposed to have hair nets, wearing hair nets, beard nets, gloves, and other things, but somebody needs to have something done to the way her and her people are running the show over there. Because if you're gonna go to one place business, it's just like other inspections. You don't go to one inspection and close your eyes because you got a friend. If you got a state job, you're supposed to do your job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Mr. Bonds, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Y'all miss me? It's been 3 months, but I've been following you on the YouTube channel. Don't do some personal issues. That's why I wasn't here, but I'm glad to be here. Good to see y'all. Okay, let's get started. My issue of many that I have, but I'm going to address one is we're going to define character. Character is the mental or moral quality distinctive to an individual. Now, with that being said, I've had to address the character flaws with the board, and you all know what I've been battling, and I've seen that the Human Resources has addressed some ethical policy issues with your DSS department, something that should have been addressed a long time ago. And being that it is being addressed right now, if one's heart doesn't change, you can change all the laws and ethics and put whatever you want to in writing, but if the character of the individual from the head down doesn't change, you get the same stuff. One of the mothers of my church said that eagle never flew so high that his stuff didn't hit the ground. You know what that stuff is. So eventually, the stuff is going to be exposed. I said that when I first started coming here, and it starts at the head and it works its way down. Now, I've spoke with each commissioner except for one, and you know who you are, the one I have not spoke with individually. And it's funny that one just said earlier that they love hearing from his constituents, but when its constituents bring issues to you, that you negate them and you turn deaf ear to them. And then when the constituent continually brings the issue to you, now we see what your character is. Now we see what your mental and your more distinct quality is for you as an individual. And this is what I would like to point out, because going forward, we elected y'all. If we elected y'all, y'all work for us. Now, we're not looking for perfection, but what we are looking for is accountability. What we are looking for is, if you get it wrong, own it. And when we see what's been happening here the last few months, even with the $1 million type thing, and if you get it wrong, own it. One thing I can say about my commissioner, he is not perfect. I can tell you that. He and I do bump heads. He and I do disagree on some things. But if he misses it, he owns it. And that's something that each one of you should take to heart, including the new Addie here. But if you miss it, you own it. Therefore, you get respect. But if you don't own it, now I have to question your character because of what you said you would do, and now you choose not to do it. So, and don't be a puppet. If you're going to represent your constituents, do what you say you was going to do. Don't back away from it. Y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Harrell?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joshua Harrell, and I live at 312 Maple Street, Roseboro, North Carolina. I am here today to talk about EMS response times and policy changes that need to be made. My mother, Carla Small, had a cardiac arrest on June 15th, 2024, at my home in Roseboro and went unconscious while on the phone with the operator. Due to the current policies in place, the fire department was not dispatched immediately with EMS, and she went without oxygen for more than 10 minutes. While nothing may have changed the outcome that evening, if Roseboro Fire was dispatched immediately alongside EMS, there is a possibility that life-saving aid could have been provided to her sooner. I am sure there are others in the county who have experienced similar delays in response times as well. It is my understanding that fire is not always automatically dispatched with EMS. However, that multiple fire departments have requested this policy be changed. Many other counties and states have opposite policies where the fire department is dispatched immediately alongside EMS, regardless of the type of call, in order to provide continuous care. The International Association of Fire Chiefs has recommended the use of fire-based EMS since 1975, which means our county is far behind schedule on this issue. The fire department may not be able to provide advanced medical care. However, they could provide oxygen and administer CPR if needed prior to the arrival of EMS. A simple change in policy can fix this, and I'm calling on this policy to be updated immediately. The county commissioners should consider putting together a committee of public safety professionals and members of the public in order to address this issue and others that may arise. Let me be clear, this is not an attack on our first responders. They do an amazing job. It is about removing red tape so that they can save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. Ms. Rouse?
Good evening. Andrea Rouse, Roseboro, North Carolina, Snow Hill community, another familiar face. It's not often, I guess, I can come up here and say a whole lot positive, but today I will. Mr. Cowsey, great selection in Devon. Known him since he was born, graduated with his mother, worked with his wife in Sampson County Schools. Upstanding young man. For people who don't know him, the young lady in Roseboro, she's still here? Well, I knew there was a lot of things going on in Roseboro, but I didn't know who to give credit to that for. She's doing a great job. If none of y'all have been through the Roseboro community, we're coming up. We're coming up in the city of Roseboro. So let me get to my business, the landfill. As we all know, probably seen on the news that there's been something going on and there's been a plan for some things to go on with a settlement with EJCAN and GFL. To help the quality of life in Snow Hill. That's how I look at it, to help the quality of life in Snow Hill. But I'm gonna stand by what I've always said. The landfill's been here 50 years. It's run its course, and we want it closed. It's time to take it down. And I thank EJCAN. I think those people have done what they've done, but the county has received benefits from that landfill that Snow Hill has never got any of. We've never heard anything. And I like what Commissioner McLam said. The lines of communication are so important. The character that Ms. Reverend Mons talked about. To know that people care about us in the community. These meetings are nice. I hear some great things that I didn't know, like the young lady from Roseboro. I didn't know that Devin had the position that he has now. These are great things. EMS, I know they do great things. Everybody makes mistakes. We make mistakes in the school system. You guys make mistakes, but a line of communication to say, we care for you outside of that chair. Continue to do what you're doing, but let's do it a little bit better. Let's talk to the community, okay? Let's get a better connection, all right?
Thank you, Ms. Rouse. Mr. Brown?
Good evening. My name is David Brown. I live at 3030 Fleet Cooper Road in Roseboro, North Carolina. I probably have, in line with the two previous speakers with me right here, I'm going to begin with a quote and an old saying. The quote was from Admiral Yamamoto. He was the architect of the Pearl Harbor raid, one responsible. Japanese were celebrating, but he wrote in his diary, I fear the only thing that we have done is awakened a terrible sleeping giant. Your sleeping giant are the citizens and the taxpayers. We're awake now, and we're going to take a real hard look at a lot of things. My particular emphasis happens to be money. I'm retired, so I can't work overtime and make more money, okay? The second one is my perception is my reality until you do something to change it. I could be wrong. Perceptions, I get information in and I formulate a thought and I have a perception. One of my perceptions is that you're wasting money on a terrible level. I talked briefly when you mailed all the letters out about the convenience site fee. Found out there's 30,500 taxpayers for Sampson County. I'm really surprised at that number. I honestly thought it would be more than that with our population. But you round the numbers up at 57 cents a letter in a bulk mail rate, $17,000 to mail those letters out saying I got to pay a fee. And then you had to send another letter out rescinding that. That's another $17,000. That's $34,000. That's an average salary for a person in Sampson County for a whole year that you just took and threw it away. That doesn't count the letters and the checks that you had to send out there also. Only thing I'm going to say about the lawsuit settlement, you spent $28 of taxpayer dollars for every $1 that you saved in that lawsuit. I'm glad you are not my financial advisors, okay? I found out, I heard a comment about the $1 million. I'm not going to say a lot about that. What I read in the article was apparently a clerk made an error because of an interpretation for wording. If that's not correct, then please correct me. I don't want to put wrong words out. My question is, who's in charge of writing that wording? Why did you write that wording? Did you not know that it wasn't clear enough? Did the clerk who read that, did she misinterpret that? You know, now we're back to these effective lines of communication and also about our perception. Somebody's accountable, and you need to hold people accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I'd suggest that all of you who got questions, you can sign up and come and we can talk. And I think we can answer some of your questions. That ends our policies. Steve, what did you want?
Get back to the Snow Hill deal. That not only goes to Snow Hill, it goes on Five Bridge Road, and you can be sitting at Cahary Country Club in a golf cart, and you can spell it down there. It just don't go to Snow Hill. It's more than Snow Hill. It goes to Peavine Road. It goes to Five Bridge Road. More areas than just Snow Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. All right, that ends tonight's agenda.
We have a public comment that was received
Oh, I'm sorry.
this
Yeah,
afternoon.
you have one to read in. Please read it in.
This is from Miss Elaine Hunt. It says, "In a perfect world, individuals would not have to fight hard for others to see and do the right thing. In a perfect world, individuals would see the needs of others and do what they can to assist. However, we do not live in a perfect world, nor are we perfect people. However, we should have people who assume responsibility for doing what is right and just for all. We still need assistance obtaining county water. We started with this request in March 2022, and as of today, September 9th, 2024, it is still before you. I've included pictures for your viewing. These past weeks have been hectic. I've had to call out plumbers, a well contractor, you name it, all because of water problems. I would be in attendance this evening, however, I cannot do so because of this water problem. We would be very appreciative if you, Public Works Director Turlington, or board representative, or someone else could take a few minutes out of your busy schedule to communicate with us and find a resolution for us. I'm reminded of the oaths taken by each of you to faithfully, impartially, and justly perform duties for the County of Sampson and its residents. We on Old Warsaw Road are Sampson County residents. We earnestly need your help. County water is not a luxury for us, it is a necessity. We are asking you to visualize this being you or someone you love in this situation. How would you handle this matter? In a perfect world, you would be taking initiative rather than seemingly being inactive. Thank you for your time. Humbly submitted, Elaine F. Hunt.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I think that ends our public comment section. Take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got it. Okay, I make it, you second. How'd it do? All in favor, raise your right hand. Meeting's adjourned.